Give us DJ Watt!
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis. The Triumphant Trio is back. Dave, what's up?
Hey, it's day one. So it's funny because I've been waiting for this day so long for the Steelers to get back on the field, getting ready for the 2025 season. Then I realized how much of my day is taken up by the Steelers being back on the field because the 2025 season, doing the tracker at Steelers.com. That really is a almost an all-day event for me.
Especially early in camp.
Yes,
way more
especially day one.
And yeah. By week 3, it's died down a bunch. We'll put it that way. Bryan, what's up?
Hey, fellas, I needed this. I need Steeler football, real Steeler football, Latrobe. I need to talk about the Beehive. I need to talk about all of that, especially when I've had such a bad pop culture week. It's been horrible pop culture, 4 of them, and I'm ready to talk Steelers.
All right, so let's talk Steelers. We are going to get right into the topic, and that is the title of the we're using preseason predictions of our postseason awards, and then we'll get into the news and all the stuff with day one at training camp. We'll talk about, I'm going to get everyone's opinion on the throwback uniforms. We'll do that later in the show. But let's start off. We did this last year. I don't know if we've done it 2 years or this is just the second year. Dave, do you remember, or Bryan?
I don't know if we did it before. I had all my stuff from last year. I don't know if we did it the year before.
I think it's year 2.
All right, so this is year 2. So what we're doing is we are taking our best predictions of the major awards that are given out after the season, and we actually included a couple on our own, and we're going to try and predict what we think will happen at the end of the season. So I'm just going to read through what we're going to be talking about in terms of these awards, and then we're going to get into the mixture. Most valuable player, rookie of the year, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, the most improved player, comeback player of the year, the unsung hero, the best assistant coach, the chief award, which is for the best handling of the media, and then that player that could be put in the doghouse. So we're going to start at the top and we're going to work our way down. And so I think we have to start with the most valuable player, and that is we are predicting who will be the Steelers 2025-2026 most valuable player. Dave, we're going to go in this order. Dave, then Bryan. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, so I like this. Last year we went the other order, and I wasn't ready for it. So this year I was ready to go the other way. So Jeff loves to just throw these curveballs at me. This is great. MVP, I'm going. If this season goes right, you could take the obvious choice of Trent Jordan-Watt because he's been the team MVP so many times. If he's not injured, I'm actually going to say it's switched up this year. I'm actually going to go with Aaron Rodgers. Because if Aaron Rodgers is the team MVP, then the Steelers are probably having a pretty darn good year.
Yeah, that is true. All right, Bryan, who do you have for MVP?
I have number 8 as well in Aaron Rodgers, and it has to be just the way Dave just conveyed it is absolutely right. If Aaron Rodgers is the best player on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that means that everything else is falling into suit, that it was a big pickup. If you go on the defensive side, I usually feel that if you have a defensive MVP, that nothing went right on offense. And we can say that over the past couple years when there's been a defensive MVP. And so I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to predict Aaron Rodgers because that's the way it needs to be.
Okay.
Who was the last non-defensive MVP? This was not my trivia for today, believe it or not.
Antonio Brown.
Oh, no.
The last non-defensive MVP?
Yeah.
A Juju?
It's why AB melted down. It was Juju.
That's right.
In 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, you would have been right, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with TJ Watt. And this is a team vote. I think that they value what TJ brings to the field and to the team. And I also think he's going to have a huge year. With the contract out of the way, I think he's going to go off. People talked about 11.5 sacks last year as a down year. Do you know how many people would kill for 11.5 sacks, by the way? Nonetheless, I think he's going to be up near 20 if he can stay healthy. And I think he's going to get another MVP. Say what you want about what that could mean for the offensive player, but that's where I'm going to go. So 2 votes for Aaron Rodgers and 1 for TJ Watt. Now let's go to the next one. This is interesting. Rookie of the year. Rookie of the year. This could go in a lot of different directions depending on how you view the rookie class. Dave, who are you taking for rookie of the year?
I'm taking what we know now is someone who's going to be already thrust into the starting lineup. I'm taking the low-hanging fruit of first-round draft pick Derek Hartman.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hey, like you said, if Aaron Rodgers is the MVP, that means big things are happening for the offense. If Derek Hartman is the rookie of the year, he's playing extremely well. Bryan, what about you?
I am going to, as much as I love the Derek Harmon pick, and I really think that is the low-hanging fruit, and that's a good one, I'm going to go a little bit more complicated here because he's got to sift through some things, but it's Caleb Johnson, number 20. I think he looks dynamic already, and what he can do. I think by the end of the year, he's not going to be the starter at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, number 20 is the guy in Pittsburgh in the backfield.
I agree with Bryan. I went Caleb Johnson because I think with these type of awards, unless Derek Harmon's able to get a lot of sacks, tackle for losses, quarterback statistics that you could hang his hat on for the Joe Green Award, I think Caleb Johnson's going to have those stats. He's going to have those touches, explosive plays. We saw a little bit of that on Thursday, the day one of training camp, even though they're not in pads. But still, I'm going to go with Caleb Johnson. I don't think anyone would be upset or surprised if either one of these guys brings home that Joe Green Award. So now let's go to the Offensive Player of the Year award. Dave, who do you have for Offensive Player of the Year?
Well, I do it like the NFL where they don't give it to the same person that's the MVP.
Okay.
For that reason, I'm going, another new member to the Steelers, I'm going with DK Metcalf.
All right, fair enough. I think that's a good pick. I think it's a really good pick. Bryan, do you have the same guy?
I would, but I'm going to go ahead and switch it up. I do it the same way Dave does it, the same way the NFL does it. I'm not going to pick Aaron Rodgers either because of I go for another player besides the MVP. So if I'm going to go ahead and switch it up, I'm going to go ahead and look at, and this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to stay with Caleb Johnson.
Wow. Okay. And then he would have a great year.
I think he just burst onto the scene in a big way.
I mean, if he doesn't just win Rookie of the Year, but also Offensive Player of the Year, that's phenomenal. Now, I went with TJ Watt for MVP, so I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers here. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a really good season. I think he's going to have good stats. I think he's going to help be a calming presence, so to speak, for the Steelers. So I've got Aaron Rodgers as the Offensive Player of the Year. Now, let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. Dave, I mean, is this your low-hanging fruit since you have...
Yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. Okay. If he's not my MVP, it's because he's my Defensive Player of the Year, which I thought we'd be going in the other order. And then that's what... So that I like going in this order better, actually. Okay. It works. It works out great. And so I'm going with Trent Jordan-Watt.
All right. Bryan, do you agree?
Yeah, you have to because it all seems like it's falling in line. If he is not Defensive Player of the Year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, then I think there's something wrong with him as far as injury or as far as something goes. And the Steelers cannot afford for TJ Watt not to be Defensive Player of the Year on their team.
Since I went with TJ Watt as my MVP, I actually went with Cam Hayward here. Yeah. I think that Cam's still going to have a very good year.
I would have done the same thing if I did Watt. Yeah.
I think he's still going to be a impact player for the Pittsburgh Steelers for sure. So I went with Cam for Defensive Player of the Year. Now let's go with Most Improved Player. A lot of different avenues we could go down here. Dave, what do you think?
So are we doing Most Improved and Comeback Players the same thing or is two different things?
I look at Most Improved as a player that has improved the most from one year to the next.
Because this is something that you all might think of that would have been more of a comeback, and I'm just going to say Most Improved. I'm actually going to go with Troy Fautanu. Because he only had the one game and everything. So if you looked at it both as Most Improved and Comeback, but then if you separate them, I had someone else for comeback as well. So to me, that's why I did that. That I'm going that who's taking a big leap. I have it as Fautanu.
All right. What about you, Bryan?
I've got a number of places I can go here, but I'm going to go to the other end of the offensive line and say Broderick Jones. How amazing would that be if he's the most improved player?
That would be great. That would be really good. I would be really happy if he's most improved. I was thinking about two players. I'll say them both, but there's one player in particular that I really think is going to improve the most this year. It was between Roman Wilson, but I feel like he was more of a comeback player because he missed almost all of last year. I went with Payton Wilson. Payton Wilson wasn't bad last year. I want to get that out of the way. He wasn't bad, but I just think that this year in year 2, he's going to be called upon to do more, and he's going to take a step in the right direction. So I like Payton Wilson to be the most improved player in 2025. Anyone else you guys were thinking that you were toying with? Dave, anyone else you had?
Only if we're not doing comeback as a separate thing, or are we doing that next?
We're doing comeback next.
Okay. So yeah, the only other person with most improved is I saw in the live chat as well would have been, Mason McCormick. That would be a good one.
Oh, that's another really
You
good
know,
Yeah.
I actually had another one on the list that it's going to shock you guys, but Joey Porter Jr. And I think most improved to me means going to a different stratosphere. And I really think he has the opportunity with those other guys around him to improve tenfold.
Yeah. So let's do comeback player. There could be a lot of different options here for comeback player. I really hope we don't all have the same one, but still, Dave.
We probably do.
Go ahead, Dave.
For me, my comeback player is the one who's coming back from a year and a half.
Yeah,
being
that's
gone.
on with me.
Yeah. And that would be Cole Holcomb.
Yeah.
That even if he's just out there, he doesn't even have to be the starter. He just has to be involved in the rotation and make, some special team stuff like that. The fact that he's coming back at all from that injury that kept him out a year and a half, that's who I have.
Okay. What about you, Bryan? Same?
No, I actually had Troy Fautanu on my list. I really thought he was the guy here. That's why I did not put him on most improved, because I felt like him missing all those games, all but 6 quarters. I think he played 6 quarters last year. So I really think that he's a comeback player of the year for the Steelers, and you're going to see something pretty special.
Yeah, it was 4 quarters. He played in 1 game.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, he got hurt on Friday at practice is where he actually hurt his knee. It wasn't in
Denver.
Yeah.
The Denver game in week 2. That was before that game.
The Denver game. No, Denver game in week 2 is where he started.
Oh, that's
Because remember, he didn't play week
After
1
that.
because he had been injured in the preseason.
Yeah.
Then he came back and was the starter in week 2. They tried to do the
Switch
the
over.
rotation thing, and then it was going into week 3 that on Friday it was, and it was Friday. That's what stunk too. Yeah. So,
Yeah, we were playing in a golf scramble. I think that was the day, wasn't it, Dave?
it might have been. I can't remember. What day we
Okay.
played the golf scramble?
Yeah, it was. I was there in spirit.
I got Cole Holcomb for the comeback player because I think that's an obvious choice. But I do agree with Troy Fautanu, and you could even put Roman Wilson here as well.
Yeah,
Again, because
he was the other one.
hardly played last year at all. So I think Cole Holcomb I think he's the odds-on favorite as long as he doesn't unless he doesn't make the roster, if he doesn't even come close to being what he used to be. Now,
And
Go
honestly,
ahead.
that's the whole reason why I went with Fautanu as most improved, is because I just felt Holcomb was just stronger for a comeback, and I just wanted to have both of them.
Yeah, now, a couple others in the live chat. Alex Highsmith is being brought up because he was injury prone last year and didn't play a lot. Maybe I could see that. Maybe most improved for Alex Highsmith as well. We'll see. All right, let's go to the next one. Unsung Hero. The Unsung Hero Award. Everyone might have their own criteria for it. I'll tell you what mine is. It's a player that is not going to get a ton of recognition, but is a really important part of the team. And so, therefore, they're not being praised, and no one's singing their praises to the masses, but they're doing their job, and they're doing it their own way. So, Dave, did you have a different criteria for this award?
No, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I went with. And you could always go with the entire offensive line a lot of times with this, but that's not what I went with, because you do have, to me, it's more one player when you look at the defensive side of the ball. It's the most unsung position that you've got to be really, really, really good to put up numbers and recognition from this one position. So therefore, I think if you do, it just goes to show how great you are, which you guys will know what I mean with past Steelers. So I'm actually going with Keanu Benton. is who I think is good, because when you're the nose tackle, you've got to take on the blocks, you've got to eat up players, you've got to keep the linemen engaged on you without grabbing a hold of them to keep them from going to the linebackers at the next level. So to me, that's the most unsung hero position on the defense, which to me also goes to show how great Big Snack was back in the day, because he played that position and could still be more unsung than that, because he was just so good at it. But that's one thing that I say, because some people are like, oh, Keanu Benton kind of disappeared. Nose tackle's is a position where you have a tendency to disappear. Now, of course, he's going to get to be in as a defensive tackle in the rotation as well when they're in sub package. But I'm going to go with Keanu Benton having to do the dirty work, and while guys like Cam Hayward's going to get their name said more often.
True. Although I hope Keanu Benton does get his name said a lot.
I mean, think about it. Last year he had an interception. Yeah. And everything, and people just kind of forget about it because Cam was just playing so well.
Yeah, that was against Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
That's what I thought. That kind of turned the tide in that game. All right. Bryan, unsung hero. What do you have? Who do you have?
I have about 4 guys here. Keanu Benton was on my list, so I can take him off. So I've got about 3 guys now, but I am going to go with Juan Thornhill. I think with everybody else, you're looking at big names. Even Deshaun Elliott can't be on this list anymore because he's getting paid. They kind of feel like he's the guy now. I think Thornhill can just go in and quietly do his job while others get accolades.
That's an interesting one. I never would have thought of Juan Thornhill as the unsung hero, but I understand. That's a good point.
Good philosophy behind that one.
I'll go with the low-hanging fruit and say Zach Frazier, because I think Zach Frazier, and the only thing that I hesitated with Zach Frazier was he did get a lot of recognition last year as a rookie, even from websites like Pro Football Focus. Whether you like Pro Football Focus or not, he was a highly graded center. Am I right, Dave, that last year, Zach Frazier?
Yes, he was very highly graded last year, and this year they have him projected in the top 3.
Yeah, so maybe that is not an unsung hero, but he's not a vocal guy. He just seems very quiet, very reserved. He's not a Marquise Pouncey, who was more of an outward leader as a center. Zach Frazier is just like, do what I do, not necessarily what I say, because I'm not going to say much. So I'm going to go with Zach Frazier as the unsung hero for me. Another good Afton said Deshaun Elliott. He's gotten some praise.
Did you see the one before that one?
No, who is that? Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington. That's an interesting one as well.
I hope so, because he is your bona fide two-way tight end. He will block. If they can get him more involved in the offense, that would be awesome in terms of pass catching. All right. Let's go to assistant coach. Assistant coach. So obviously, this is any assistant. Were we including coordinators here, or is this?
Yeah, I mean, we did last year.
Okay. So
it was anybody but Mike Tomlin.
Anyone but Mike Tomlin. So Dave, who you have for assistant coach of the year?
I know, like last year, I went with Arthur Smith. So I did go with the coordinator. That's how I knew we were allowed to do it. Me, I'm not this year going with the coordinator. This might be a popular pick now that I think about it, or I thought I was thinking a little bit more outside the box, but I'm going with one Coach Gerald Alexander, the defensive backs coach.
That's what I had.
I even talked about that. I think on Scobro, was it Scobro or something that I had said, because I had that written down last week when we were going to do this topic, but TJ Watt had to go and sign his massive deal. And because someone was talking about him in our live chat, I'm like, yeah, I was going to bring him up on the preview last week, but that to me, I think then do we even need to go on? We're all in agreement, because I think that's going to be, because not only this, the Steelers' pass defense was ranked like 25th last year. Now you've got new veteran guys changing stuff up. There was all the reports of communication issues, stuff like that. There's a big opportunity for this to go from the weakness of your defense to an enormous plus.
Well, I think about it this way: he's not new to the Steelers, because he
was away for a year.
Yeah, he went to the Raiders for a year. Now he's back, and it's an elevated role. He was an assistant defensive backs coach before he left to go to Las Vegas. But the one thing is like I say, we have a huge team need in terms of communication in the secondary, and Dave talked about where they ranked last year, and you have a new face. Like, if you're talking about assistant coaches, like, could it be like Zach Azani? Maybe, but what justification would you have for having him as the assistant coach of the year? If Roman Wilson balls out this year and Calvin Austin too, but is that him or is it Aaron Rodgers or is it Arthur Smith? Like, there's a lot of pieces there. And Carl Dunbar's another one. He's been there for a very long time. Mm-hmm. If TJ Watt goes out and has a career year, and so does Alex Highsmith, is it Carl Dunbar? I just feel like the secondary is unique.
Because now that's actually because the outside linebackers is Martin, right?
Denzel Martin, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
That's his name.
Yeah, and Dunbar's the interior defensive too. So you got all these names.
But sometimes
you guys are taking all the coaches. Before I go, you're taking all the coaches.
Well, we all agreed, Brian. It's just we're just talking about it now. What did you add?
That was your guy. Yeah.
Well,
great. Gerald Alexander was your answer too. I just assumed.
Yeah, I was just riffing off it because we all had the same guy.
Well, I think that the more that I think about it, Gerald Alexander is pretty much a patsy. He is not the guy. It's secondary assistant coach Anthony Midget. So I think he's the guy that runs everything there. So
and the thing is, if they. This is I expected this from Bryan. If the two of them disagree and get into an argument on the field and it gets physical, would that technically be midget wrestling?
It could be. Yes, it really could be. Now, let me throw in another guy here, though. In all seriousness, the running back position really needs some retooling, and it very well could with Jaylen Warren. He is kind of unsung here too, because even though he's getting the job, it's because Najee Harris is gone. I like Eddie Faulkner as well, so I'll say that Eddie Faulkner, with who he has to work with there, I think that could be a possibility. That the running backs coach is so important to this team this year, more than ever.
And you've also got to remember that by the numbers, Eddie Faulkner is the best offensive coordinator the Steelers have had since Todd Haley.
Well, you got to give props to the other.
Yeah, and Mike Sullivan.
Mike Sullivan. Yeah.
Mike Sullivan.
Yeah, it was both of them. Yeah.
So, all right.
Really good on the power play.
Yeah.
Both Mike Sullivans got canned in the same week. Yeah. All right, let's go to the Chief Award, which is for the player that is the best with the media. Now, there is some. I've heard a couple players talk about this, both that have since retired and current players, that they're like, you don't want to win the Chief Award because there's like some. I think there's been a few players in the past, recent history, that have won the Chief Award and then they're not on the team the next year.
Like Mason Cole.
Was he the Chief?
I think he won the Chief Award in there.
I'd have to go back and check, but I think there's something about like you don't want to win the Chief Award because I think Ryan Clark said it first. But anyways,
you know who won it last year?
Was it Cam?
I think it was Highsmith.
Oh, okay, all right, good enough.
Sure.
I'll go back and look it up. But Dave, who's your Chief? The best with the media.
Which is really funny because it kind of goes against something else that you were saying about this player earlier. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be the loudest rah-rah guy. It just has to be the guy that is willing to say what needs to be said. That's why in the past, I know DeCastro's won it in the past. I'm actually going with Zach Frazier.
Okay. Zach Frazier. And you're right, Alex Highsmith was given the Chief Award last year. Just look that up.
Then Patrick Peterson, Mason Cole, and Cam Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
So Mason Cole and Patrick Peterson, they won it, and then they were no longer on the team. Okay. All right, so you went with Zach Frazier. Brian, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Hayward as well, but Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward's a guy that takes, Dave, he takes the mic a lot.
I don't ever remember hearing Connor Hayward talk. That's why I said that.
Yeah, I've seen, unless I'm mistaken, I've seen Connor Hayward take the mic a lot, and I think because of his special teams role, because of just who he is on that team, I think he's a lot more important in that locker room than a lot of people would think. Maybe he gets heralded because of who his brother is. I don't know, but I think he's in a way become a spokesman for the team since he's been around long enough. I'm going to go Connor Hayward.
Yeah. All right. Hey, that's thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with and someone brought this up in the live chat. A guy that, at least from a media's perspective, is definitely trending in the right direction. His stock is going up. When George Pickens decides to cancel his camp, he's the guy that comes in and saves the day. I'm going to go with Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth is slowly becoming the leader on the offense. Yes, I know Aaron Rodgers will fill some of that this year, but we're talking about after this year. I think Pat Freiermuth is viewed as a leader on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's learned from people like Ben Roethlisberger when he was there his rookie year, Cam Hayward. Even when it sucks, sometimes you have to answer the questions, and that's what they look for. And, they don't want people that are just going to say, I'm not talking today. I'm not talking today. And they've had a lot of that from a couple players in the recent history. So I'm going to go with Pat Freiermuth. Were there
That's a really good one. That was my first thought. But then I decided to go outside the box and go Frazier because I thought someone else would go Freiermuth because I think that's a good one.
Okay. Now, this last award is very interesting, and it caused me – I had to think the hardest on this. It is the Doghouse Award, and this is a player that is going to end the year not in the good graces of the coaching staff.
Oh, I thought it was the fans.
Oh, fans, sure.
Yeah.
It could be both, too, but I was thinking more from the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So, okay, you said
which
the
is
fan
fine.
Doghouse. It's fine. It's either way.
Yeah.
So the Doghouse Award, Dave, who gets that?
Yeah, I went with the fans' perspective
Okay.
of someone who's going to end up in their doghouse and they're not going to want to say very much. And I find it very ironic that they ended up picking off like the first Aaron Rodgers pass of training camp today. I actually went with Patrick Queen. That I think that if he's not out there completely tearing it up this year to start, the fans will turn on him. I think they did somewhat last year. Although I felt he was playing better as the season went along until he was trying to power through the flu in the playoffs, which whether or not they should have done that is a whole different story. But I think he's got to start really strong or else the fans could turn on him. And honestly, I think now that he could start really strong. So it would be great if it's not him, but if that's how it plays out, because the fans love Payton Wilson. Cole Holcomb's a good story coming back. Man, I haven't heard a peep or I wouldn't recognize him to see him with Malik Harrison or anything with him. So, but when it comes to Patrick Queen, if he's not living up to that contract, the fans are going to farm. Well, we're going to turn on him quick.
That's a really good one. I didn't think about him. So that's a good one. Brian, who did you have for the Doghouse Award?
I did think of him, and I thought that was a really good one. But I'm going to double up with a guy that I think that I thought was going to be a guy that we talked about here, and it's Broderick Jones. And that's, to me, that's low-hanging fruit, because Broderick Jones it's going to take a lot for him to get out of the doghouse, and he's going to have almost a perfect year. But I really think that he has the ability to, but if things go wrong, he's going to be the first one they blame, especially being left tackle.
That's another good one. So, that makes a lot of sense from a fan perspective too, because the Steelers, they didn't just take him in the first round; they traded up to get him. There's more expectations placed on you there. I like that. I thought outside the box for this one, and I went back to something Carl Dunbar said at mandatory minicamp when they asked about this player, and he said he just needs to finish plays. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, it's an interesting way to describe a player. And I thought long and hard, I was like, you know what? This guy's coming to the end of his rookie deal. They just selected 2 players near his position in the draft. I went with Keanu Benton. And, Derek Hartman, who had from all reports in a non-padded practice, one hell of a day on Thursday and was all over the field and all around the ball. Didn't hear anything from Wyatt Black, but I would hate to see Keanu Benton just kind of get lost in the shuffle. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, what a waste of a second-round pick, So that's who I went with. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's my prediction there is Keanu Benton. So, Brian, do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I like that pick. This is my fault because I saw the list and I feel like we forgot something, and I'm going to throw it out there. And it's the Pittsburgh Steelers' Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee.
That's a good one.
And I can throw my idea out right away because it's not going to be Cam because Cam's passing the mantle. Larry Ogunjobi's gone. He was last year's nominee. I think it's going to be a guy that Dave Schofield mentioned on the show earlier because of stepping up. And I think it's Pat Fryermuth. I think he's doing a whole lot more in the community. I think he, just being from there, I think he is becoming Mr. Steeler in many of a way, not just on the field, but off of the field. And he's becoming the face of philanthropy in the Steel City.
All right, Dave, do you have someone different than Pat? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if any of these guys are outward with their philanthropy.
Okay, I'm going because of what they do with the community, and even though Pat Fryermuth stepped up and helped with the George Pickens, with the camp. Who else came in when they already had someone from the Steelers and they didn't even need a second one, but came in and did it anyway? I'm going with Alex Highsmith.
That's a good one.
I like
that's
that.
a good one. Right when you were saying that, I was like, that's probably, if I had time to sit and think about it, it would probably be Alex Highsmith. So, okay. This is good. Good list, guys. Good work. For those that continue to watch in the live chat, we appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back after the break, for watching live on any platform, we're not going anywhere. When we come back, we'll be talking about training camp practice, throwbacks, do some trivia, and then we'll get out of here. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. Second half of the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Dave, what do you want to say?
We've got a super chat. We had it for a while ago, but I saved it till now because I thought that it could lead into it. It's $5 dingo dollars.
Can you
we got
read it?
$5 dingo dollars.
So you can read this one?
Yes, I can read this one.
All right, go ahead.
Yes. From Steelers Nation Australia, thank you very much, Marky D. He said the season is over. A-Rod threw a pick.
That is a great segue. Thank you for the tip into the reports from our first day of Steelers training camp. Clearly the Steelers, there's a lot of people that are really jumping to conclusions, and I get it. It's the first day back. Everyone wants to talk about missed plays, great plays, whatever. Dave, you track this for the entire website, steelcurtainnetwork.com. As you're tracking the news, what stood out to you?
What stood out to me today the most? Apparently the defense was looking very strong right off the bat.
Yeah.
That they hit the ground running. Jalen Ramsey in like 5 snaps played 3 different positions in the secondary. In the very first team session, they did not do. I don't know what's going on with Bryan.
I
don't know. It's like I don't know if things are falling off the wall or whatnot. But they didn't do 7 shots, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I felt that they would seem like it was strong for the defense, and it seemed very strong for Caleb Johnson. But I'll be honest with you, I would not read into that too much because he's a rookie. He's not wearing pads. He's really amped up. He's ready to go. It's his first official NFL practice. I'm not counting the OTA stuff. And what's he going to do? He's going to do things that if they were wearing pads might have got him smacked to the ground. He's not going to, when guys put their hands on him as he's coming through, he's going to keep going because that's kind of the mentality. That's what you want as a mentality of your running back. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I'm not going to put too much stock in it. When the pads come on and he does that, that's when I'll be super impressed.
I'll second that real quick before I go to Bryan about Caleb Johnson. If you watch the clips from fans and their footage, and you see some of these big runs, one of them that said, a 25-yard run.
He was touched way before
probably
that.
would have been a gain of 6 to 8.
Yeah.
And it was a nice run, and it definitely exploded through the line and showed that speed. But they're not in pads, so it's really difficult to gauge. I agree with you, Dave. Bryan, what did you have in terms of takeaways from day one?
Yeah, so of course we're going to go ahead and see the charts come out and see that Aaron Rodgers was 1 for 3, I believe, and then Mason Rudolph comes in and it's 4 for 4, and everybody is going to start pointing at that, going, the Mason should be the guy. They should, I understand that. Remember, it takes a lot of continuity. I know Aaron Rodgers did have his guys out in July in Malibu, hanging out with them, practicing, getting to know them, but it's this time on the field for him to establish rapport that he has not had a chance to do. And that is because of his own doing. But to see him come out and be a little bit rusty at the beginning, I get it. So all I'm saying is don't freak out about the quarterback situation on day one.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from day one, I look at those little things. Dave, you mentioned Ramsey being moved around. That's okay. I'm definitely paying attention to that. Juan Thornhill as both the first and second string free safety. Like, okay, we got to sign somebody. Can't have that guy playing all the time.
Later than the second team's free safety was Castro.
Yeah.
That was later in practice. I think they said he was with the first team because I think he was out there when it was sub package.
Okay.
That's why.
I also like the fact that you're hearing that they're moving TJ Watt around, and that he's moving he's not just rushing from the left side. They're moving him to the middle and the interior, also to the other side. It's day one, but at least they're trying some stuff. Okay, it's better than doing nothing. So, very interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. They have 4 non-padded practices before they can wear pads. So
yes, they have 4 non-padded practices, and then it just so happens that then it's the Steelers' day off. So their first padded practice is scheduled for Tuesday.
And Coach Kevin Smith will be there on Wednesday. So they normally do back-to-back padded practices to start. And so hopefully Coach Smith gets to see some pads popping.
And I don't think they're allowed to do 3 in a row. So then that means that chances are Thursday it's not.
All right. Anything else from day one you guys want to bring up?
They said Cameron Johnston was booting it out of his mind, Jeff.
That's right. Cameron Johnston, I heard injury-wise, because people often want to ask about injuries. Heat-related is what Mike Tomlin said after practice for both. I keep on forgetting that Cordero Patterson is still on the roster, and Jonnu Smith. That he said they were heat-related or something like that.
Actually, he said there was a couple heat-related stuff, but then with those guys, he didn't really say they were, especially Patterson, didn't really say that they were definitely the heat-related guys. But he called them day to day. So I don't know if I think he was intentionally vague.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because he doesn't have to be specific at this stage of the game. And we know that Isaac Seumalo is starting on the non-football injury list. And so he's not participating. And Spencer Anderson is taking over at left guard. Bryan, anything else you want to bring up?
You know, I just thought that it was a getting to know you type of thing. But there's a lot of guys that stood out more and more. And let's go back to Patrick Queen. I think that is a big deal that he picked off the first pass of practice. And I like the fact that that they're back and they're just finding their footing.
Yeah. I want to go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, I also like that Aaron Rodgers said, hey, I got the first one out of the way.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that go back to when Ben Roethlisberger said you wanted to go all training camp without throwing one. I don't think it really matters.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, you don't want to throw interceptions, but at the same time, it's not a big deal in practice. So I want to keep it with Bryan here. Why? Because Bryan's our jersey guy. He has like 5,000 jerseys. I'm not exaggerating. I think he has an entire shipping container filled with jerseys. So, Bryan, 2 questions. First, what were your thoughts on the throwbacks that were released? And 2, have you ordered yours already?
I have not ordered mine, so I'll go to that first. I haven't done it as of yet. I mean, it will be done. Now, I do
China doesn't have the design ready yet. Jeff, they didn't.
Yeah. Trust me, I haven't looked, but I'm sure they do.
They'll get
they
it quick, but they weren't ready ahead of time.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, guys. First of all, I'm going to echo what a lot of you are going to say, and I know I knew what Dave was going to say before he even wrote it, and he did, or before he even tweeted or said it or what have you, and that design would look so much better with black pants, or I would take the white pants with the black and gold stripe from the throwbacks from 2007 when they wore the gold helmet.
Anything would be better than the brown. Anything would be better.
Yeah.
Than the brown.
So I don't know why they continue to do that. The weird thing for me about the jerseys, and it's the weirdest thing, is the part that I love about the front are the white numbers with the black trim. Then you go to the back,
That's awful.
and it's just black numbers. And they don't match. And my gosh, Dan Rooney was so crazy about things matching. That's why we don't have block numbers anymore, because of the top of the helmet. So, I was really shocked with that. But when you take the design that you did, you're honoring 1933 because that's the 1933 jersey, but having modern, they've never worn the numbers like that on that 33 jersey, but the crest is still there up here. I'm telling you what, love the crest. I have that crest jersey. I think I have a Dermontti Dawson. And what I'm thinking, though, is I wouldn't mind seeing that crest stay forever in the corner. If you maybe a little smaller, but have the crest continue, the Pittsburgh City crest is awesome. I was just pleased because I thought it was going to be very boring and just another variation of the color rush. And back to 2007 with that little bit of a change, and that was the rumor I heard. And I'm glad it's not that. I'm glad it's something different. I still want the Batmans. I don't know if we'll ever see the Batmans, but as Jeff has pointed out, that there's different versions than just the Batmans too that are really sharp. So they have something for 5 years from now, but this is an interesting go.
All right, Dave, what's your take?
All right, now I understand when they did the Bumblebees why they did that color pants, because they were actually replicating the previous jersey. This isn't a replication. This is retro inspired. So they really had other things they could do with it. I understand why it's white numbers on the front, because if it's gold and black striped, gold with black stripes, you can't do gold or black. You have to do something different. So it's the white. My thing is, the back of the jerseys now look just like those practice jerseys you can get. Gold with the black, which I like those. But not with this. To me, if I was going to design it, like I said, black pants, gold stripe down the side. And I would have kept the stripes on the back of the shirt too, and then the white numbers on the back as well. The white on gold wouldn't have looked right, but why not? Why are the stripes only on the front? I'd have just done the stripes on the back and kind of have it look the same on both.
Even if they would have reversed, so in the front it's white with the black outline. Even if they would have had a white outline on the black numbers, would be something that would kind of be like, okay, I can see what they're doing. It looks like a 9th grade football jersey if you're just looking at a player from behind. It's just a yellow jersey with black. That's it. It just looks, I think it looks awful. I agree with Dave that you said it's a retro inspired jersey. It's not an actual throwback. I don't know. I do say this. The helmets are awesome. I do like the helmets. A good alternate shell. I like the matte yellow. It's not the shiny matte yellow. I love the gray face mask. But here's my point, and I've said this on podcasts already. I don't think the Steelers need to recreate the wheel with this thing. They have unbelievable uniforms as it is. If their throwbacks every year were what they wore last year, block numbers, gray face mask, I would be as happy as a clam and then just be on my way. I know why they do it. They want to make money. They want to sell jerseys. I get it. But ultimately, Bryan, anything else you want to add about the uniforms?
No, I mean, I think when we see them in play, and if they play well in them, maybe they win 1 or 2 games, it will be like we did with the color rush. Like, oh, they're wearing the color rush. That means then you start feeling good about the fact that they're wearing them. I think they're going to show up a whole lot better once they're actually playing.
Okay. Fair enough. Dave, anything else?
It's just going to be hard to see them out there with those disgusting brown pants.
Again,
Yeah.
we've seen them in the brown pants.
Yeah, and like I said, I love the Bumblebee jersey. I didn't like the brown pants with it, but I at least understood it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get to some trivia. Dave, you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Today's trivia is inspired by Aaron Rodgers' first pass of training camp,
Okay.
which just so happened to be an interception. What Steelers quarterback threw an interception in their first regular season pass?
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett did. Do you recall who that pass was to, and do you know who picked it off?
He threw it to Chase Claypool.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like short armed it, and it kind of bobbled and ended up going to the defender. And so I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to take a stab in the dark that there's a Steelers connection here. Was it Brandon Eccles that intercepted the pass?
No, it wasn't. There was not a Steelers connection here. That would have been interesting, though. It was actually. It's not that part wasn't really important. It was Jordan Whitehead.
Was it Claypool though? That he was.
Yeah, it was Claypool.
I mean,
it wasn't even Kenny Pickett's fault on that. Claypool basically knocked the ball right to the defender. If I'm remembering correctly.
The second pick was targeted to Freiermuth, and that also was a deflection interception. That sealed the game.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Well, yeah. Yes, and then he actually technically had three interceptions in that game because he threw a Hail Mary with 8 seconds left that it technically got picked off. But thinking of interceptions, I started to look at it, I'm like, I want to see who's thrown the most, because one of the stat categories you can do on Pro Football Reference is interception percentage. What percent of your throws were intercepted? And I started to look at it, and man, when you go back to the 30s and 40s, it is some crazy numbers when you look at that. So I decided I'm just going to do it since the merger, make it a little bit easier on you guys, because it would have been, if not, sorry, that takes Dick Shiner out of the equation, Jeff, I apologize. But at the same time, there was so many, even with the Whizzer Whites and stuff like that, and people that weren't quarterbacks, and it was crazy. So the first question I have is, since the merger, and these are both actually recent, I'll say it occurred in the Kevin Colbert era. There are 2 players, neither of which are quarterbacks, who have a 100% interception percentage, because they both threw one pass and it was intercepted. Do you know either of those 2 players for the Steelers?
Brian, do you have
They
a guess?
only threw one in their career?
They only threw one career pass. They weren't quarterbacks. Okay.
Okay.
So they threw one pass and it was intercepted.
Well, I know it's not Bettis because he's had a touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm. Just wondering if you guys remembered it at all. I really would have liked to have found the games.
One was a running back.
Nope.
He was the one that went off against New England. That was what he was known for. Oh, crap. They tried. He had like 140 yards against New England. They beat New England at home.
Oh, you're talking about Jalen Samuels?
Jalen Samuels.
You're right. He did throw an interception, but he actually had 5 career pass attempts, and he completed the other 4. That's what's crazy.
Sorry.
But that's a good guess, Jeff. Yeah.
Trying to think of running backs that effed up at one.
And I'll also tell you this. It's not Tony Dungy, despite him having 2 interceptions thrown. He had 8 attempts. Because didn't he have to come
quarterback?
Yeah, didn't he actually have to play as an emergency quarterback in a game? Yeah. But he was not 100%. I'll give you a little bit more of a hint. 1 was a punter, and 1 was a wide receiver.
I'm going to say Antonio Brown, actually.
Antonio Brown has thrown an interception, but he threw 6 passes. He was 3 for 6.
He threw a touchdown.
With 1 touchdown.
He threw a touchdown to Moore.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Left-handed, because you're like, that's when you're like, Antonio Brown's left-handed? That's when you figured it out.
Jordan Berry?
No, but you're close.
Brad Wing.
It's Brad Wing. Brad Wing had one, I guess, fake punt, or it could have even been, I don't know if it was a fake punt. I didn't find the play. It could have been a botched snap or something with the field goal, and he ended up throwing it as an interception. The other one is known more for his receiving, particularly in the clutchest of moments.
Santonio Holmes.
Santonio Holmes, 0 for 1 with 1 interception in his Steelers career. Yes. So the next question is, out of and my thing is, you've got to be a quarterback that at least threw 100 passes as a Steeler. Which quarterback since the merger of the Steelers who threw it? Because I'll be honest with you, Reggie Collier had a pretty high interception rate. And that's because he only threw 7 passes, and he's listed as a quarterback. But what quarterback had the highest interception percentage since the merger for the Steelers?
Is there a number of attempts? Did you say how many attempts?
Yeah, you got to have at least 100 attempts, which it really is. I mean, I'll even say this: you got to have 20, and it would still
Bradshaw
be
was
fine.
probably up there.
Bradshaw was up there pretty decently.
But he's 210 for 212 or something like that.
He was 210 interceptions to 212 touchdowns.
Okay. So I had it reversed, but
Yes.
it's got to be Mark Malone for me.
Okay. Mark Malone's interception percentage was 4.9, lower than Terry Bradshaw's, which was 5.4.
Wow.
Where was Bubby on the list?
Bub, I mean, I've got everybody here. I can tell you eventually if I scroll far enough. Let's see. Bubby Brister, he's actually pretty far down on this list. He's tied with Tommy Maddox at 3.9.
What about Cordell?
Cordell Stewart, he's even lower at 3.4.
Wow.
Wow. Come on, Brian.
Mike Tomczak.
Mike Tomczak was a little bit higher than those guys. He was 4.4, but nope, you got to go higher than Bradshaw's 5.4.
What about Everett?
Everett.
Didn't he had a season, didn't he? Or did he not even finish the season?
Who's Everett?
Oh, not Everett. Who's the one that Cordell replaced with Cower? I'm thinking of
Maddox. No. Graham.
Oh yeah, Kent Graham.
I just saw him. Where was he? Now I can't see him. It's not him. I'll tell you that. He was lower.
I think it's Tommy Maddox then.
Though Tommy Maddox was tied with Brister.
Neil O'Donnell.
We're gonna get there. Neil O'Donnell is one of the lowest.
Wow.
Only 2.1%. The only quarterbacks that were lower than that, Kenny Pickett was 1.8. Michael Vick, although he only had 66 attempts, but I said if it's more than 20, he was 1.5, along with Russell Wilson being 1.5.
Where does
And you said, did you guys say Kent Graham? Is that what the one you were asking?
Yeah.
0.7.
what about Landry
One
Jones?
interception in 148 attempts.
What about Landry Jones?
Landry Jones, I like what you're thinking when you're thinking, it might be a backup guy that plays some.
That's where I'm going at this point.
Okay. Landry Jones was at 4.1. He had 7 interceptions.
Mitch Trubisky.
It's got to be Mitch.
I thought it might be Mitch, but it's actually not. Trubisky was only 3.5. Yeah, he had 10 interceptions, but that was on 287 attempts.
Then I'm going to go Charlie Batch then.
You guys, here. Let me give you the numbers. This was somebody who had 339 attempts in 16. No, wait. Hold on.
Joe Gillum.
Wait. I was on the wrong line. Hold on. Give me a second. I read the wrong number. Let's start over. He had 291 attempts, 21 interceptions on 291 attempts, appeared in 39 games for the Steelers with 12 starts.
Cliff Stout.
Good guess, but Cliff Stout was at 5.8, which was more than Terry Bradshaw.
So it wasn't Joe Gillum?
It was not Joe Gillum.
And then, wait, he had 39 starts or 39?
39 games, 12 starts.
Terry Hanratty.
It is Terry Hanratty. That's the answer. We took forever to get there. I thought you guys would get that one pretty good. Yeah, he had 21 interceptions to 16 touchdowns. 7.2 was his percentage. And then the next one was David Woodley. He was at 6.2. He also had 21 interceptions, but he had more attempts. And then that was also tied percentage-wise with Jim Miller at 6.2. Then you have Scott Campbell at 6.1. Josh Dobbs at 5.9, but that's only 17 attempts, 1 interception, so he didn't qualify with enough attempts. Then you went Stout and Bradshaw. What's crazy, if you want to know where Ben Roethlisberger was, he threw one more interception than Terry Bradshaw. This is regular season. Bradshaw had 210. Ben had 211. Bradshaw's percentage was 5.4. Ben's was only 2.5 because he had so many more passing attempts.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, good show, guys. Let's do some final thoughts. Bryan, I'll let you go first.
All right. So, you know what? Everybody knows where I'm going to go with this. I was originally going to talk about not freaking out about the whole quarterback situation just because of one day of camp, but I already covered that. So I've got to go back to what I alluded to at the beginning. Man, it's been a tough pop culture week. And I know for every one of us that, everybody knew you didn't have to be a wrestling fan to know who Hulk Hogan was. And I just have to say, rest in peace, Terry Bollea. Gone at age 71. Jimmy Hart actually came out yesterday and said that he is doing fine, and because there have been questions about his health lately, but massive heart attack, and he is gone. A lot of celebrity deaths this week. Malcolm Jamal Warner hit me hard because I grew up same age as him, watching him on the Cosby Show, and he is one child star that has stuck around a long time and actually did not have trouble. And he was really good in a show recently, major story arc with the show The Resident on Fox. Very good hospital drama. If you want to watch that, he played a great cardiologist. And of course, my birthday mate. We lost Ozzy Osbourne this week. John Michael Osbourne. He was born on December 3rd, just like me, just not the same year. There's a lot of controversy in some of those guys there, but gave us a lot of entertainment over the years. So rest in peace to those three gentlemen. And trumpeter Chuck Mangione. If you don't know the song Feels So Good, it's an instrumental from 1978. You know it, you just don't know the name of it. It's something fantastic. I played it for my wife today, and she goes, yeah, of course I know that song. Just didn't know the name. So a lot of pop culture deaths this week. So let's just cleanse that with the birth of a new era in Steeler football, and I'm hoping that wipes away my tears from my pop culture week.
Very good. Dave, final thoughts.
Yeah, that was really rough. Rich and I talked about, we actually specifically did our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talking about the Cosby Show, and our memories of that specifically with Theo. That was tough. And then we also had to reference from the Jeff might appreciate the whole, we had to find 1,000 brown M&Ms or Ozzy wouldn't go on stage from Wayne's World 2. Yeah. But yeah, and then, man, I meant to have it with me but I think my son still had them upstairs playing with them. I had 6 wrestling dolls, one of which I have Hulk Hogan. I let my kids play with them. That's the thing with toys from back then. They last. They're still good. No problems with them. He was the last one of all the guys that were alive that I had, because I had Andre the Giant, King Kong Bundy, Nikolai Volkov, George the Animal Steel, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and then Hulk Hogan. So it's just that's what happens if you live long enough. The pieces start to go. So I definitely concur there with Bryan. But I will also turn this back and just say one last closing thoughts with the Steelers. It's here. We're going. Like I said before, I'm busy, but I'd rather be busy because we're dealing with Pittsburgh Steelers football than be busy while not having Steelers football.
Absolutely. I will say this because I know Bryan and Dave, you obviously were alive for that era of wrestling. Crowd pops are when the music would hit and the crowd just goes berserk. Hulk Hogan did it with 2 songs.
Yes.
He did Rick Derringer's I'm a Real American when he went bad, and he started the Voodoo Child with Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
There's only one wrestler I think they've ever, well, 2. You got to go to Stone Cold Steve Austin with the glass breaking, or The Rock when you would just hear it.
Dude, we did this as an off-season bracket the one time. I had you and Bryan do that.
Those crowd pops were unmatched.
Yes.
And I just watched when he came out, Hulk Hogan, when he came back to the WWF, and he had the red and gold again and the boas around him, and he came out to Voodoo Child, just still They just ate it up. I was a huge Hulkamaniac, so rest in
Yes.
peace, Hulk Hogan, for sure. All right, good show, guys. We'll be back next week, still talking Steelers football. Make sure you check us out at SteelCurtainNetwork.com and all of our podcasts here at the Steel Curtain Network. Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.